Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day 245 of our trip around the United States. We finished up a day ahead of schedule last night, due in part because of the amount of driving we did through the night coming out of Las Vegas and because of the road closures at Zion National Park. We started off the morning in Arizona, overlooking the Grand Staircase before coming back down to visit the Pipe Spring National Monument and then crossing once again into Utah. We only have a couple of pages to cover in this part of Utah before the rest of our day will be spent in Arizona. Once we finish off pages 59 and 60, we'll drop south and we have a total of 450 miles to cover throughout the day. Most of the pages that we are going to be pursuing today are on tribal lands. They are exempted from the Delorme Challenge. But I do not want to tour through the entire state of Arizona and miss the opportunity to tour the entire northeast corner of the state. So we are still going to go out there and we're going to visit the few virtuals that are in that corner of the map. Let's see what kind of treats today has in store. Come on, let's go.
We begin our morning in Arizona, just south of the Utah state line, on the north end of the Kaibab Plateau on Scenic Byway 89A. This overlook provides a phenomenal view of the Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument. A precursor, it would seem, for what the day has in store for us. But before we cross back into Utah to get up close and personal with that staircase, we first visit the Pipe Spring National Monument. This national monument, often outshined by the nearby Zion National Park, is rich with American Indian, early explorer, and Mormon pioneer history. A tour through the visitor center will help you delve into the history of the peoples who have inhabited this area through the last 1,000 years. Once you have finished up in the visitor center, it's time to go see this National Historic Site for yourself. Pipe Spring received its current name in 1858 by the Latter-day Saint missionary expedition to the Hopi Mesas, led by Jacob Hamlin. By the early 1860s, Mormon pioneers had followed, bringing with them a large cattle ranching operation. Under threat by the Apache, Navajo, and Paiute tribes during the Black Hawk War, a protective fort was constructed over the main spring, completed in 1872. It was purchased shortly thereafter by Brigham Young for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Bishop Anselm Perry Windsor was brought in from nearby Grafton to operate the ranch and fort, which soon became Windsor Castle. This ranch and fort house was designed both as a headquarters for cattle ranching and protection from attacks, constructed directly over the Pipe Spring. From the second floor, it is easy to get a clear view over the entire ranch and fort and the surrounding areas. By this time, the Mormon settlers did not really fear the Paiutes, who inhabited much of the Arizona Strip, but rather the Navajo, who had crossed the Colorado River when the water was low, and raid not only the Mormon settlers, but also the Paiutes. Walking around the grounds of the castle, you can tour the rooms one by one. From the courtyard on the ground floor, you can peek your head into the kitchen, the parlor, the cheese room, and the spring room. The spring room features a trough flowing with water fed from the pipe spring, and it also helps to keep cold storage for butter production. Nearly 50 to 60 pounds of cheese was produced in here each day. On the upper floors, you can look forward to seeing several bedrooms, a watchtower, and a telegraph office. In fact, the telegraph station found here in Windsor Castle was the very first in the state of Arizona, opened in 1871. It was operated by the 16-year-old Eliza Stewart, who both lived and worked in the telegraph room. Coming back out of Arizona, just barely across the state line into Utah, we drop into Kanab, which has dubbed itself the greatest Earth on show. This is due to the fact that Kanab finds itself smack dab in the middle of many phenomenal rock formations, including the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument, the Bryce Canyon National Park, the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, Zion National Park, Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park, Lake Powell, and of course, Pipe Spring National Monument. Kanab is also known by many locals as Little Hollywood due to its history as a filming location for many movies and TV series, including The Lone Ranger, Planet of the Apes, Buffalo Bill, and The Outlaw Josie Wales, just to name a few. First settled in 1864, Kanab followed a settlement path much like Pipe Spring National Monument had. It was first established as a fort in 1864 along the east bank of Kanab Creek to provide offensive and defensive capabilities against the inhabitants of the area and as a base for further exploration. By 1870, it had begun to shift from a fort into a town, with 10 Mormon families moving in to begin their new lives. We enjoyed driving from one stop to the next in town, checking out not only the local sites, but also a wide variety of murals painted on the side of many buildings. There is a lot of history and a lot of natural beauty, both to be found in ample supply in this town. And many of the murals that we had the pleasure of seeing, this one in particular, did a fantastic job of weaving the two seamlessly together. Of course, while we were in town, we had to stop and make some finds. Many of the geocaches we came across today were quite clever in their camouflage. While any muggle passing by might mistake these for something else, the keen eye of an experienced geocacher would immediately have their geosenses lighting up, telling them that they had just stumbled across another find. While we did not have all that many logbooks to be able to sign today, we did enjoy what we were able to find, and were very happy about all the extra smiley faces that Kanab helped to put onto our map. From Kanab, we would take Highway 89 east, past the old Pariah Mesa, into Big Water. There are plenty of options to choose for Delorme Page 59, so we picked a couple of easy ones off the map, stopped in, and added our names to the logs. Delorme Page 60 though? Oh, Delorme Page 60 is another matter altogether. Every single geocache option in this page is an adventure. It's just a matter of choosing which adventure you're going to take on. Knowing that Ai-chan would not be physically capable of taking on any of the high terrain options, we instead decided to pursue on top of Old Smoky. This listing is located only about 10 miles from the main road in Big Water, but it is a long 10 miles. It is located at the Smoky Mountain Overlook, which will have you climbing several sets of steps on the Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument. The land along the steps is some of the most remote in the country and was the very last to be mapped in the contiguous United States. And grand is almost an understatement, as this monument stretches from the towns of Big Water, Glendale, and Kanab in Utah to the towns of Escalante and Boulder in the northeast. All told, this national monument is actually slightly larger than the entire state of Delaware, encompassing 1.87 million acres of land. Quite possibly the longest 10-mile stretch of road that we have ever covered in our lives. But man, were the views worth it when we finally reached the Smoky Mountain Overlook. And after all the nerve-wracking driving to get up here, Ai-chan and I were looking forward to nothing more than a hike to be able to stretch our legs and get some fresh air and relax just a little bit. Knowing that the cache up here had not been found in over 3 years, we were a little nervous that it might be missing. But sure enough, once we got to the ground zero, there it was waiting for us to discover. It is in surprisingly good shape considering how much time it is spent sitting up here on the top of the mountain alone.
It took us about 2 hours of driving from down there where you see the big lake all the way up here on top of the staircase. Man, what a drive to get up here. It may have taken 2 hours, but I wouldn't trade a minute of that. This is one of the most beautiful and remote drives we have taken on. And 3.5 years lonely, but we found our qualifier for the page. Now, it's time to make our way back down and drop into Arizona.
It's really difficult to watch where you're walking when all you can concentrate on is the view just out over the edge beyond you. You could tell that Ai-chan was excited about the view as well, but not nearly as excited as she was to return to the car once again. It really is like we have 3 members of the team, because there's no way that we could have made it over here to the top of the Smoky Mountain Overlook without that geomobile to bump and jostle its way all the way to the top. For the drive back down, Ai-chan immediately hopped into the passenger seat, realizing that all of the best views down the Grand Staircase-Escalante would happen off of that side of the car. It's a funny thing, because when you're driving up a road like this, it does not really feel like you have climbed that high. But when you begin your drive back down, you feel every inch of the elevation that you gained to get there. And I doubt you would be surprised to learn that we rode the brakes the whole way down, not letting it get too fast ever.
And that's our road back out. What a journey to get out here to Delorme Page 60. What a journey.
While I had always known that Delorme Page 60 was going to eat a lot of our time no matter how we approached it, I didn't realize just how much time it would consume. We were very fortunate to have started a day ahead because coming all the way up and all the way back down the Grand Staircase-Escalante back into Arizona consumed most of the rest of our time for the day, just enough to make it back into Arizona before the sun set down.
All right, and it looks like that is going to do it for our day. We began in Arizona at the Pipe Spring National Monument, and then I made our way back into Utah into the City of Kanab. From there, it was a long journey to get up to the top of Old Smoky, but climbing those stairs was worth it. What an amazing drive to get up there. That ended up eating a lot of our time for the day. So although we have made it into the northeast corner of Arizona, we have run out of daylight. It was a great send-off to Utah until we get to come back closer to the end of this trip, and it was a great start back into Arizona with the beautiful views out here in this corner of the state today. Thank you guys for joining us. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.